You're listening to DraftKings Network.
Daredevil is born again on Disney+.
My name is Matthew Murdock. I'm a lawyer.
Exactly what kind of a lawyer are you?
A really good one.
Critics everywhere agree it's the best Marvel television series. Gritty, intense, and elevated. It's Daredevil at his best.
If you step out of line, I will be there.
Marvel Television's Daredevil, Born Again, now streaming only on Disney+.
Now's a good time to remember where tequila's story truly began. In 1795, Cuervo invented tequila.
Cuervo.
What are you doing here?
Cuervo. Anytime someone says Cuervo, I show up.
Well, I do know that to be true, but even during ad reads, like...
Cuervo.
I think you could lay out, especially for one of our great partners.
Sweet, delicious Cuervo.
Since then, Cuervo has stayed true to its roots. The same family, the same land, the same passion.
Cuervo.
So, enjoy the tequila that started it all. Cuervo.
Cuervo.
The tequila that invented tequila. Proximo. Cuervo.com. Please drink responsibly.
Cuervo.
Welcome to the Big Suey, presented by DraftKings,
Why are you listening to this show?
the podcast that seems very similar to the other Dan Le Batard podcast.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to apologize for that.
In fact, the only difference seems to be this imaging.
I have been tempted in restaurants just walking past tables to grab somebody's fries that if they're just there. That hasn't happened to you guys?
I've done it.
And now, here's the marching man to nowhere, Fat Face, and the habitual liar.
Juju did a great job with all of that unrivaled stuff. It is a great idea. Just a couple of concentrated months of basically it's the bubble. It's put all of these players in a part of town that they would not normally be and just intensely have them compete and do work and make more money on the side. As part of our 20-year anniversary celebration, because many of you are demanding more Stugotz, we expect him back soon, but he's following his daughter around the country. Where was he the other day? I asked this yesterday. He was along the college baseball path for some reason, and I was not surprised when I saw him in Syracuse, given that one of his daughters goes to Syracuse, but I was surprised to see him at a college baseball game.
You're asking us if we know where Stugotz is?
It looked like a Northwestern baseball field. It was the standard patent Stugotz two-armed selfie where he's clearly holding his phone with two arms. God, I love that. It's adorable every time, I have to admit. But yeah, I have no idea where he currently is.
As part of were you going to say something there, Billy, before you take
No.
all right,
no.
good. All right, good. I'm glad that you just looked like you were going to say something and then didn't say anything. Let's go to a behind the bit here as part of our 20-year celebration. Stump the Meech is always something that is popular. John Amici, one of our most popular guests, one of our smartest guests, can never tell what Stugotz is saying.
This is
Behind the bit.
This is behind
The bit. This is behind
the bit.
For the past 20 years, you've seen and heard bits on the Dan Le Batard show. You may have wondered to yourself, what are these bits? And what's wrong with these people?
Who is John Amici?
John Amici was a former NBA player and just a very intellectual man who, I don't want to say doesn't have a sense of humor, because I don't think that's fair to John, but John takes himself more seriously than we would take ourselves, I would say. And John Amici is someone who would probably not be hanging out in the same circles as Stugotz, per se. So he's a very well-read man. He wasn't knighted officially, but he has like a British royal title of sorts, and just is into very smart things that go above the head of all of us.
Levy scored the first ever points at the Miami Heat's newer arena. He was a close friend of Dan's. He made headlines once he retired when he penned a book where he came out to the nation. John Amici had a really strong relationship with Dan. They were good friends, and he was someone that was always so intelligent and wonderful to have them weigh in on big, important societal topics on our show. You can never have enough smart people surround your show, especially when you have Stugotz there weighing the median average down.
John, when he met Dan, took him to a gay bar And Dan did not know that he was gay, despite bringing him to a gay bar. He didn't suspect that. I'm like, oh, it's just a place to go. Like, okay. But yeah, that was pretty funny, thinking about that. But yeah, like, John is, just like Bomani, one of the most intelligent people I've ever met. He's a constant ally, and we are an ally of him, and just all around good man.
So we thought, let's play a game and waste John's time and have him try to figure out what it is that Stugotz, who's not well-read, what he's trying to say mid-sentence, mid-thought. Sometimes he just ejects in the middle of the word. Sometimes he just mispronounces words. So what we would do is we would save a bunch of clips of Stugotz just not saying words the right way, and then horrify John Amici, who speaks perfect English. And John was terrible at this game. And I think he was frustrated because, you know, as an NBA player, as someone who's a successful businessman, he has succeeded at many things in life. And this is just one that we knew he was not going to succeed at. And I think it drove him nuts that this dumb game always got the best of him. And it was really unfair. I mean, some of the words that we would play for him are 4 or 5 syllable words that Stugotz would condense down into 1 syllable and then move on to his next train of thought. So John never really stood a chance in this game.
What is the first mispronunciation from Stugotz?
Analysis. Dallas or analysis? See, I think it's Dallas, but that's too simple. Analysis?
That's what I would have guessed.
Wow, spot on.
That would have been my guess.
Formula. It's either formula, but having said that, I can't imagine a context in which Stugotz would have to say that word. Formidable.
All right, you are overthinking this.
I think it's formidable.
Despite Dan trying to help you out, it is formula.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Bro.
Well, come on now.
Bro.
I've absolutely got nothing.
Drawer.
Bro.
That is a tragedy right there.
Hermaphrodites.
Oh.
Hermaphrodites.
Hermaphrodites.
Yes, of course.
Right.
Ah, there we go.
Of course.
Oh.
Of course. What do you mean? Oh, God.
Oh, I hate you so much right now.
Merce.
Is it most, or is it... Well, that's not my final answer. I'm going to go with mist.
It's most.
Oh, my God. Holy shit.
I was robbed.
You were not robbed. You made your own decisions.
I'm sorry, that was robbed.
You made your own life choices. You had victory in your hands and you let it go.
How did this one start?
Stugotz just pronounces things very poorly for a broadcaster.
And John Amici is so smart, so the idea of him trying to guess what language it is I'm speaking.
Yes.
And what words are coming out of my mouth is funny.
It's such a great idea because all it is us taking things that have been said in the natural flow of Stugotz broadcasting as Stugotz, and he doesn't finish all of his words, and he tries to get to the next thought a little faster before he's finished the other one.
Small windows.
And so words get jumbled up, and so we had an endless library of things that Stugotz had mispronounced.
What I always loved about that segment is Mike would give him an easy one, like a fastball right down the middle, just so he can gain some confidence to think this is the time I'm going to win the game. Meech's never won the game. Did he win once?
Well, he claims that he's won.
Once, I'm not
the
certain.
only times he's won is when we've made terrible mistakes somehow.
Right.
It's not because he ever deserves to win.
But Mike would groove the first 1 or 2 in, and then the next 3, change-ups, curveballs, everything.
Impossible.
And Meech is swinging and flailing and falling to the ground.
Yes.
And he can win.
He can't win that game. He always wins.
Dan and Stu talked about it being like a palate cleanser. Did you create this bit, Mike?
I just knew that we needed a device. Our show is really good at getting people in the tent and with nonsense. And then while they're in the tent, we'll have an important discussion. And you're going to be sitting there not really understanding what you're sitting through because we've already put it in your head that we're just going from laugh to laugh and there's going to be important societal discussions along the way, but you're going to enjoy the journey. So we knew that we needed to do something to dress it up. We had come up with games to play with guests. There was this game that we had called Douche or No Douche that we had in our back pocket anytime we needed to spruce up an interview, or we weren't exactly sure where to take the interview. And I really liked having that as a device. And I knew, given how strong Dan and John's relationship was, and knowing how playful John was and how much he liked our show and liked Stugotz as a character, I knew he'd be down for this. So it was all about tracking the mispronunciations as they would happen. And we started building up quite the arsenal. I'm proud of that of that folder. Roy had a very good ear for it. We'd all kind of mark it, like anytime Stugotz misspoke, put that in the Stump the Meech file. And we had to immediately write down what we thought Stugotz was trying to say, because absent context, there was no way that we were going to figure out what Stugotz was going to say. I mean, some of these clips were really ridiculous.
I mean, after 20 minutes of super serious conversation with Dan, you need something.
Yes,
I mean,
we would a little. It's a little bit of sorbet, a little bit of sorbet at the end of a societal conversation that makes your head hurt.
It was like a treat for a dog.
Yeah, a little bit.
Thank you for giving us 20 minutes of serious shit. Here's Stugotz.
This is a message from sponsor Intuit TurboTax. Guys, Taxes was dealing with piles of paperwork and frustrating forms, and then waiting and wondering and worrying if you're going to get any money back. Now Taxes is easily uploading your forms to a TurboTax expert who's matched to your unique tax situation. An expert who's backed by the latest technology, which cross-checks millions of data points for 100% accuracy. While they work on your taxes, you get real-time updates on their progress, and you get the most money back guaranteed, all while you go about your busy day. No stress, no worry, no waiting. Now this is Taxes. Intuit TurboTax. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live, full service, real-time updates only on iOS mobile app. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees.
Dan Le Batard.
It's all about me.
Stugotz.
Whee!
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
Elle Duncan is going to be here shortly. We should play Douche or No Douche with her. We have not done that game in a while. I want to play for the audience some sound here of a West Virginia politician, the governor, Patrick Morrisey, really just pandering. It's a great way to get your constituency on your side to stand in front of a sign that says National Corrupt Athletic Association, the NCAA. This is West Virginia's governor going very strong at North Carolina and the NCAA tournament for a West Virginia school that probably could have made the tournament if in the first game of their conference tournament they hadn't lost to 3-17 Colorado.
West Virginia deserved to be in the NCAA tournament. This was a miscarriage of justice and robbery at the highest levels. Now, who was the last team to get into the tournament? Ahead of the Mountaineers. That would be the University of North Carolina. Now, let's see how their resume stacks up. The Tar Heels went 1-12 in quad 1 games and even had a quad 3 loss.
Jessica, why are you making a face? The National Corrupt Athletic Association is the sign that he's standing in front of.
If you were a player on West Virginia, this would embarrass you, right? Like you don't want this. No. Like obviously you want to make the tournament, but you didn't. You lost some games that you needed to win to make it in. But then if you saw this, you'd be like, okay, wait, can we just back up a second?
You think so? You think that the players don't appreciate some support that they probably agree with?
I agree with Jess. I think it's an embarrassment to the university that I mean, maybe if the athletic director wants to say that or the head coach, that's their domain. But the governor, hey, governor, you don't have anything more important going on in your state that you need to worry about than one of your college teams making the tournament?
They're a sub-500 team since January 1st. Like this is, I understand being upset that, we do this in college football all the time, the teams that don't get in and the head coach or the athletic director or the conference commissioner advocates for them and goes on ESPN and complains and blah, blah, blah. But like the governor of the state is doing it. And it's like that. If I were a player, I would be like, okay, you know what? Fair, but I should have made my free throws.
Yeah, that's beneath the governor's office. It really is. I'm not even saying that as a bit.
It's not just that he's saying it. It's the language is so strong on what he's saying. Like, what are you actually saying for things that are miscarriages of justice that are egregious, as opposed to this one that begins with you losing your last game to a team that was 3-17?
West Virginia deserved to be in the NCAA tournament. This was a miscarriage of justice and robbery at the highest levels. Now, who was the last team to get into the tournament? Ahead of the Mountaineers. That would be the University of North Carolina. Now, let's see how their resume stacks up. The Tar Heels went 1-12 in quad 1 games and even had a quad 3 loss.
The rest of politics is so pure these days that really stands out as shameless.
That's true. Yeah. Also, Ron DeSantis did get involved when Florida State got snubbed from the CFP last year. Which, again, if I were a Florida State player, I'd probably be like,
Getting involved is different than calling it the height of robbery.
Yeah, and standing behind the word corrupt.
No government officials had to get involved when UCF claimed their national championship. You just go ahead, you take it from the people, you claim what's rightfully yours, and you move on with your head held high.
No politician thought that you could get a single vote based on supporting UCF during its undefeated season with pandering.
And here's one more thing for the governor of West Virginia. If I'm on the selection committee and it's a tiebreaker, this school or that school for the last invitation, gee, it's a no-brainer that you're going to take North Carolina, which has a rich history in college basketball, over West Virginia. So West Virginia blew this on different levels.
That's not fair.
No, but I think also, like, North Carolina was one lane violation from beating Duke. Like, that, I understand why people are mad North Carolina got in, but also, like, they played well in the conference tournament and they almost upset the best team in the conference. So I understand it. Like, obviously you have to make hard choices when you're talking about bubble teams in any sport. Like, you're splitting hairs, right? Because if they were for sure in the tournament, you wouldn't have to have this debate about them being on the bubble or not. But you're splitting hairs between quad 2 wins, quad 1 wins, net rankings, all this conference tournaments, upsets, who they've lost to, how many losses they have. Like, there's never going to be a great option. And I understand people are mad because Bubba Cunningham went as the athletic director at North Carolina. I understand all of that. I do understand why fans are upset about that. But, like, we are sort of splitting hairs here.
Okay, it's always splitting hairs when you get between 68 and 69, and it's subjective. But I'm surprised to hear Greg Cody say what he's saying, which is, merit doesn't matter. It's just North Carolina won a lot 10 years ago, so therefore they should be rewarded this year. I thought, I understand what you're saying, and it's the same thing that Taylor said yesterday when he's like, we're North Carolina and you're Boise State, but it's supposed to be merit-based. Sports is supposed to be based on were you good this year or not were you good 20 years ago.
I think one of the weird things about the North Carolina thing, too, right, is that this is like one of those weird, like, play-ins that they become an 11 seed. Yeah. So they're not even necessarily one of the best 64, but if they then win, they're, like, worst case, the 44th best team.
Okay, they get in. Correct me if I'm wrong. They get in if they win that last game against a team with a 3-17 record.
Colorado,
right?
Yes.
Okay,
they
so
would have gotten in.
Zip your lip, Governor.
There it is.
You had a chance to get in.
Just one of the lips.
And you blew it.
Right.
Also, like, North Carolina is not even in the bubble conversation if they upset Duke, I think, which we saw the end. Like, that was a devastating way for that game to end. And I'm glad on that player's behalf it wasn't his last college basketball game, because it was tough. It was a tough scene.
I have a fun stat. Billy said that if North Carolina wins, they become an 11 seed. 11 seeds over the past 10 tournaments have a winning record against the 6 seeds. So if you're making your brackets out there, look for those 11 seeds.
I also have a correction from earlier. We mentioned Duke, and Chris Cody and I were both pretty sure that Nike benefited from Zion Williamson. Quick correction. That game was on February 20th, 2019. By February 25th, 2019, Nike had lost $1.1 billion in stock.
What about a year after? Let's go, like, the long-term effect on it. No?
Another correction that we want to make is that we said yesterday on the show that the Michigan baseball player who we think tripled and then tried to snort the third base line. We did not think that was going first to third on a single to right field. We didn't think it was stealing third base. We thought it was a triple and then snorting the third base line. That player is now apologizing for his behavior. I would like to apologize for my actions on third base yesterday. I made an immature decision in the heat of the moment. The gesture I made does not reflect my character, the household I was raised in, or the Block M that I represent in any kind of way. I take full responsibility for what I did, and I am truly sorry to all those who I have negatively impacted by doing this. How many were negatively impacted? Can we get, by the way, the video of that to show of him clearly? And now we have confirmation, because you guys were saying maybe he wasn't doing what it looked like he was doing. He was indeed snorting or pretending to snort the third base line. Who did that negatively impact?
My children were sobbing at the TV. They were so upset.
I don't know about you guys, but I accept his apology. Let's let him have a second chance. Who's with me?
Okay, very good, Chris. It's good that you're forgiving. Billy, you mentioned earlier Tracy Morgan, and you didn't offer anything in the way of context for anybody in terms of details. He threw up during the game yesterday of the Knicks and the Heat, and then had to leave during the game. And he has battled an assortment of health stuff. So I don't want to make any fun of this, but I don't know any of the details except what I just said to you.
Yeah, from what I came out yesterday, it seemed like he had a nosebleed and he started throwing up. He was courtside, he was throwing up on the court. There was a delay. And yeah, like, unfortunately, he's been dealing with a lot of stuff, so we shouldn't make light of the situation. So I also want to apologize for anyone that may have taken offense to my actions earlier and may have been negatively impacted by what I said. And, you know, I represent the Block M here as well, and I don't want to really be representing things that way, so I'm sorry.
Did he throw up on the court?
Yeah, on the court.
Very graphic. We're not gonna show it because it's
ugly.
Yeah,
and the nosebleed. Wow.
It delayed the game for like 10 minutes too, and then he had to get wheeled out in a wheelchair. It was very not great.
I'm concerned about him.
Same.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, you got to be.
Speaking of the Block M, Mitch Voigt, so he issues this apology, right? That was 23 hours ago as of right now, but 16 hours ago, he's then named Big Ten Player of the Week. So I sort of wonder, was it like a, hey, you're going to be named Big Ten Player of the Week, but we need you to apologize first. But over the weekend, he had 5 doubles, 12 ribbies, 6 runs scored, 12 hits. He had a 667 batting average. It was amazing.
The conference dangles Player of the Week over his head and is like, you got to apologize. What?
I'm just saying. Look, Michigan might not have wanted that representing their Big Ten Player of the Week, and they said, "Hey, you represent the Block M.
Yeah,
and
without
you need
him,
to do this."
Without him, no one would associate Michigan and cocaine.
I think the funny thing about his apology, right, is like the people that would have been offended by what he was doing, you'd then have to explain to them what he was doing and why they should be offended by what he was doing, right? Like, so if it's like, oh, think of the children, it's like, so you're going to sit down children, you're going to explain cocaine use to children and why this is a problematic action by him?
The worst possible apology, quote unquote, is when you say something like he did, which is, oh, that's not me. That's not part of my character. That's not who I am. Yeah, apparently it was, because you did it. He's not 15 years old.
Here.
Okay, if somebody in high school does that, they have the immaturity excuse. 5 years later, that card doesn't play as well.
He didn't actually say it. It was just the Notes app apology that I read.
Apparently, we all don't forgive him.
Yeah, not everyone is in a forgiving mood around here. You guys were fine, but it would appear that Greg Cody is not quite as lenient as you guys are about Michigan baseball and snorting third base lines. He is taking a hard stance on this, and he thinks this is the problem with America, is that you guys accept these apologies and then go straight to forgiveness after someone has snorted the third base line.
Have you ever done a Notes app apology, Dad?
I don't know what Notes app means.
Okay.
This kid was born in 2004. I feel like he can get away with the immaturity excuse.
Yeah? Okay, so he's 21.
That's a ridiculous age to be born
Not
in.
even 21 yet.
Okay.
People born in the 2000s, mid-2000s in college
He
now.
might not have even lost his virginity yet.
Okay. Okay, let's talk about when everybody else lost their virginity.
Dan, you go first.
Yeah, go ahead.
Would have been my junior year of college. How old was I in my junior year?
So you were
of
my
college?
age.
Yeah, 20,
This guy.
19.
I mean, no, it's not 20. It's
20.
19, 20.
You were a junior at 19?
Yeah, something like
You
that.
skip your sophomore year or what?
But now you have your answer. Now what do we do? You just stare at me and imagine me having sex?
No, I'd
Okay,
rather
good.
not.
I'm glad we did that.
Yeah.
It's good for the whole audience. You guys mentioned not playing the video of Tracy Morgan throwing up. Is that something that also would risk making others throw up? If you, what are the things in both video form or in community that are contagious? Like yawning is said to be contagious. Is vomiting something that can be contagious? If I show you video of someone vomiting, am I going to get others all of a sudden vomiting? You guys have decided as a editorial decision not to play Tracy Morgan vomiting.
I'm glad we make those. I didn't know we actually did that around here. That's good. Hey, video team, pat yourselves on the back. Or Chris, whoever did that.
I feel bad for the person 2 seats down who paid, $1,800 for courtside seats.
That's a great story,
and all of a sudden he's smelling the vomit of a famous person.
Imagine the conversations that will start though years down the road of I was at that game. Oh, remember when he threw up? I was 2 seats over. Smelled terrible.
The person 2 seats over is like Ben Stiller. So
when Greg Cody says that he doesn't know what a notes app is, I wanted to ask you guys a question based on a story I was telling a couple of weeks ago around here. I had mentioned the Monday night game in which Derek Thomas was ejected because he just kept getting penalties because of whatever it is that Shannon Sharpe was saying to him. And Shannon Sharpe has said that he will never reveal what it is that was being said in that game that made Derek Thomas so insane. But some others have speculated, whether it is true or not, that it was a trash talk that involved a woman, and more specifically, that it was just him repeating a telephone number over and over again. Now, again, I don't know what is true here, but I want to ask Greg Cody and the rest of you, do you guys know any telephone numbers anymore? Do you any of you know telephone numbers? Because I know about 3 or 4 important telephone numbers, and then if my iCloud wasn't backing stuff up, I would be proper bleeped on just about everything because I don't know any telephone numbers. How many telephone numbers do you guys know?
I know my childhood house one. I know my wife's number. Yep. I know my dad's number and my mom.
Yep, that's it. Just the emergency numbers, right?
Yeah, and sharing contacts. You're right. We've lost this.
Yeah, that's true.
We've lost all our recipes. At Le Batard Show, put it on the poll. Do you know any telephone numbers? Yes or no?
I, for one, am someone that can struggle with technology, even though I've been raised in the age of technology. Do you ever feel overwhelmed trying to manage your web hosting while juggling a million other tasks? Even if tech isn't your thing, Kinsta's managed WordPress hosting is a relief. Their expert team handles it all. They've bundled up all the essentials to make sites stress-free with speeds that'll wow your visitors, security that never sleeps, and a dashboard so intuitive, you'll wonder why everything isn't this easy. And when you hit a snag, you'll talk to real humans 24/7, 365. Actual people who get it, not AI chatbots, which is a rarity these days, seemingly. Kinsta will give you peace of mind and let you focus on your business rather than dealing with technical issues. For us, that means more time watching the games and getting you the best takes possible without having to worry about troubleshooting tech issues. Tired of being your own website support team? Switch your hosting to Kinsta and get your first month free. And don't worry about the move. They'll handle the whole transition for you. No tech expertise required. Just visit kinsta.com/Dan to get started. That's KINSTA.com/Dan.
When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like Mattel, Heinz, or Skims, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and brilliant marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the business behind the business, making and selling, and for shoppers, buying. Simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. No one does selling better than Shopify, home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret secret with Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling, on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more, sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Heinz uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Batard, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Batard to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Batard.
Don Le Batard.
Quiet man.
Yes.
I'm a married man. I don't cheat on my wife, despite that gratuitous line back in my day.
Stugotz.
I wish you were here, my wife. I really miss her. No, I don't. That's the thing about being married. You're not allowed to say, I don't miss my wife. I've been gone 2 days. I haven't been gone long enough to miss my wife. I'm sorry. I call her. I'm on the phone with her for 30 seconds. What am I? Hello. All right. We'll see ya. All right. And then, I'm going to see her in 2 days. How's Jumpin' Charlie? Good.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
Elle Duncan joins us now. We're going to talk tournament and other stuff with her because I just enjoy talking to her about anything that's going on. Do you want to play that sound for her, Chris Cody, of the last time she was on and she called you something that is not your name so that we can get a formal apology that you have not yet forgiven her for?
Yeah, the last time Elle joined us off air before we started, I was like, oh, hey, Elle, how's it going? And she said this.
Oh, hey, what's up, Greg?
She called me Greg.
Good mistake.
My dad's name.
I like that.
I get it.
I forgive her.
Now Jessica makes me play this sound like once a week.
Oh, hey, what's up, Greg? Oh, hey, Greg.
To my defense, I think I was looking at your dad. I know that you're Chris. I know that. But I think I was looking at your dad, and then I heard. So I was like, what's up, Greg?
There you go.
That's a good attempt at a save, but I don't think he was in that day.
Yeah, he wasn't in that day.
Yeah.
That's okay, though. It was good. It's good work by you. It's all right.
Oh, hey, what's up, Greg?
Thank you. No, I appreciate that. I was in that day. A hologram of me was sitting here.
Yeah. Sorry. I love you, Chris. I love all the Codys. I'm sorry. It's fine. Listen, the other day I called my husband Xander, who's my son, and it creeped him out, so don't feel bad.
Do you have any telephone numbers? How many telephone numbers does Elle Duncan know?
Yeah, I was shaking my head going like this when you were asking that question. I know. Same thing as Chris, not Greg. I know my childhood.
Hey, what's up, Greg?
I know my childhood numbers for a house that no one lives at anymore. And then I know my husband's, my mom, and my dad's. And that would be it for me. So anybody else, like if I don't have my phone, I'm effed.
I actually remember the phone number of my childhood house, 1440, which I haven't lived in 55 years.
Put it on the poll as well. I think most people might. At Le Batard Show, do you remember the number at your original home at Le Batard Show? Yes or no is the question. Elle, how often do you use your phone as a phone? Because one of the things that I'm super interested in as we've evolved is the sheer number of people who get annoyed when their phone rings like a phone and have no interest in actually using it as anything other than a computer.
I realized I was washed maybe I've known that I'm washed, but I realized like a couple months ago, my phone started ringing and I was like, who the fuck is calling me this late? It was like 7:45. So I don't like when people call me. And then it also annoys me when people text me. So in general, I'm learning I just don't like communication with people at all.
I should tell people, incidentally, that she's obviously been a mainstay on SportsCenter for nearly a decade. She's the host of the Elle Duncan Show on ESPN, and she's leading ESPN's coverage on the NCAA Division I women's basketball tournament beginning Wednesday, March 19th. And the tournament is featuring more games on ABC and ESPN than ever before. How are you seeing the change around your coverage? Because ESPN has been the exclusive home for almost 30 years for the women's tournament. So what have you seen change over the last 10 years?
I think probably the outside interests, like me and Andrea Carter and Chinea Gumake were on Good Morning America yesterday, and like real GMA, not like GMA3 or GMA Weekend, like proper one, like sitting across from Robin Roberts. So I would say that, like people wanting to have us at events or wanting me to host events purely because of my connection to women's basketball. I think, you guys have all been in the industry a long time. You always had to come into whatever respective network it was promising that you knew NFL, that you knew maybe NBA, like you had to cover the men's sports, and then women's sports were always an add-on, right? It was like, okay, and then in addition to your main stuff, you'll dabble in women's sports. And now we're starting to see, I think, networks, ESPN and other ones as well, that are staffing specifically for women, that are giving it to people as their full-time jobs as opposed to an add-on or a side hustle that they do. So in terms of what I do, I think it's just not just the interest, but the resources behind it. Like the women's, even when I took on this space 4 years ago, it was sort of a breeding ground for like new people. It's like you come and like you learn your chops and you go through your whatever on the women's side. And now we're getting, the best of everyone, the best graphics people, the best researchers, the best producers. So I just think it's how much more interest, but also just how much more resources are put behind it.
I want to play for you some sound from West Virginia's governor here standing in front of a sign, the National Corrupt Athletic Association here, to get both your reaction to this and to ask you whether the women's game has had more controversy than the men's game this year, because this is the big controversy from the men's game.
West Virginia deserved to be in the NCAA tournament. This was a miscarriage of justice and robbery at the highest levels. Now, who was the last team to get into the tournament ahead of the Mountaineers? That would be the University of North Carolina. Now, let's see how their resume stacks up. The Tar Heels went 1-12 in quad 1 games and even had a quad 3 loss.
What are you laughing about, El?
So silly. This is so silly. I love when politicians try to cosplay as like irrational, angry fans. How many West Virginia games we think that dude's watched this year? Like how where's West Virginia in terms of public school rankings? Because I think they're like 35th in the United States. Where's your outrage for that? Like, where's your outrage for literally anything else that's happening in the country right now? But this is your sticking point. Like, you're pissed about this. Here's what I would say. If you want to leave no doubt, that is completely in your hands to leave absolutely no doubt. You either build that resume throughout the year or you win your respective conference tournament, and then you don't have to worry about the corrupt committee. I don't agree with a lot of their opinions. I know that a lot of this is because I believe the AD for UNC is the committee chair, and this happens across all of sports, is that if there's a selection committee, they typically come from a school. They're supposed to excuse themselves when it comes to these conversations. But the truth is, like, anybody in this space, Dan called this a little bit ago. We had Tom Crean on our show just the other day before the UNC Duke game, and he basically said, like, if UNC fights a little bit and tries hard, if all things are equal, they're always going to go with a blue blood. And that's because of ratings, right? Like, they're always going to go with a blue blood team like a UNC with the hopes that they'll face a Duke, and that would be a ratings bonanza. Do I think that UNC was deserving based on their resume? Not really. I think they're 1-12 in quad 1 wins. Nobody even knows what that actually means. But like whenever politicians do this, it's so annoying to me because you don't care. You don't actually care. You're just trying to rally up your base, curry a little bit of favor, but you don't care. And there are certainly more important things in the state of West Virginia that need to be addressed.
Well, but somebody who does care about her seating is USC coach Lindsey Gottlieb, who says, I never thought I'd be a 1 seed and feel disrespected, but I thought there would be very little chance that we'd be the number 4 overall number 1. You agree with that, yes?
Yes. Yeah. When we saw this bracket, I was like, ooh. We talked to the committee after we got the bracket. We get the bracket right before the show airs because we do have to build graphics and things like that. Spoiler alert to the folks at home, we don't learn in real time. So we get a chance to just debrief with them before the show. And they claim that they don't look at those kinds of things, potential rematches from a year ago. They don't look at, what would be, we feel, and as TV people, robbing people of a potential Final Four matchup between two of the faces in the league in UConn and USC. But yeah, she's looking at her bracket and she's going, we earned a 1 seed and you make us have the toughest path because to get to the Final Four, we potentially have to go through UConn, a team that, by the way, ended their season last year when they were a 1 seed in the Elite Eight, and a team that they already had to face this year. And the thing about Juju Watkins is she is incredible and otherworldly. She's also one of those players that the more you play her, the more you sort of figure out a way to defend her. And so if I'm Lindsay, I'm absolutely upset. I know Dawn Staley was upset as well. She felt like they earned the right to be the number 1 overall seed. The thing that kills me with the committee is that sometimes it feels like they judge people by some criteria and then they don't judge them by the other. For example, Texas. We talked to them specifically about Texas, who got absolutely boat raced in the SEC championship, who barely beat LSU in the semifinals, an LSU team that didn't have Anissa Morrow or Flau'jae Johnson, which is like 45 points for them. And they didn't end the season particularly strong. She brought up UConn beating the brakes off of South Carolina as the reason that they didn't jump to that number 1 overall seed. But nobody finished the season out stronger than South Carolina. Notre Dame finished the season out incredibly poor, and they were punished by being on the 3 line, but they sort of just ignored Texas. So, the criteria doesn't really tend to make a lot of sense to me, but I think that, Lindsay's upset because she sees what awaits her, and that's trying to get through another one of the best guards in the country to get to the Elite Eight.
Well, do you agree with me, Elle? Because when I hear what she said, I think that's an odd attitude for a coach. I think most coaches would say, I don't worry about who we're playing. Bring it on. Bring them on. We're going to beat whoever's in our path, or something to that effect, as opposed to complaining about, oh, we got a tougher road.
I hear you, Chris. There we go. I had to get you back. I'm sorry. I hear you, Greg. I think, they put these microphones in the face of these coaches very quickly. I also think that she's trying to send a message to the committee. She did say a few times in that clip, like, I don't know how my team feels. I'm sure they just feel excited. We're hosting games. We got a big game coming up with UNC Greensboro to start the tournament. But I think she's just sort of expressing her frustration for feeling like, and here's my thing. We are still at a place, like, the numbers are growing and we know that the game's never had more attention, but we are still at a place where the committee should be keeping in mind potential matchups and what that means for ratings. And I think, like, it would have been nothing, you guys, to swap Texas and USC. Nobody would have thought twice about it because, yes, while UCLA ended up getting the best of them in the Big Ten tournament, USC had beat them twice previously, handedly, right? And so it would have made total sense to swap those two. And then not only do you not have to deal with a USC-UConn matchup in the Elite Eight, but you also avoid, if everything goes chalk, you also avoid potentially having a Final Four matchup with 2 Big Ten rivals that will be facing each other for the 4th frickin' time, and 2 SEC rivals that will be facing each other for the 4th time. And as Rebecca Lobo said, that's not beautiful basketball. Like, when you face a team 4 times in 1 year, it just doesn't typically lead to a great competition that's high scoring, this beautiful basketball that we hope to see that helps expand and grow the game. I feel like the committee could have taken that into consideration. We said the same thing last year when we saw Iowa LSU would be an Elite Eight matchup and not a potential Final Four matchup. It worked out in the end, and we got UConn and Iowa. We got 2 of the biggest faces in the game, playing each other. The ratings reflected it, as did the finals. But it just would have been nothing to swap those 2. And I agree with her. I don't know.
I agree with you on the potential rematches in the Final Four if all the 1 seeds make it. I think that is annoying. And to think, for them to be like, well, we're not paying attention to that, but then they have TCU and Louisville in the same little section with Haley Van Lith for the 2nd year in a row, potentially playing her old school. I'm like, you are paying attention a little bit, though, right? Like, I feel like I'm being gaslit a little bit.
Yeah. Like you build a little bit of that. And maybe you could say on one side that the committee says, well, we need these Elite Eight games to also have high ratings, right? If you look at the bigger picture. So that is going to be a ratings bonanza, USC and UConn. But yeah, that's my point, is that I don't really know. I'm with Lindsay Gottlieb in that, like, I would just love to just sit down and figure out what exactly they have to follow an S curve. There's things like that. There's a whole lot of other things that they have to do. They can't have conference opponents meet each other too early. I get that they're dealing with a lot of metrics and it's not an exact science, but it just feels like it would be very easy to manipulate these just a little bit to the point where, like, no one would know. It could be their secret. They could keep it to themselves, but ultimately we would get the matchups that we deserve.
Let's play a game of douche or no douche with Elle Duncan here. Give me my imaging. I haven't heard it for a while.
And now it's time to play Douche or No Douche. Here's your host, Douche Batard.
Person who takes their dog to the grocery store. Douche or no douche?
Douche. It's disgusting. I don't want your fucking dirty dog around food.
Yeah.
No. Why? Gross. And I know you're gonna cook most of it, but like, no, especially the ones that like put them in a carrier so they have even closer proximity to the produce. Why? Do you need emotional support in the grocery store? Do you?
Person who insists on talking to you about their fantasy team, douche or no douche?
I don't play fantasy football, but I have 1 million friends, and my husband's friends always try to talk to me about fantasy football. Here's what I'll say. The douchey ones are the ones that pretend like they just want to have a chat with you, but really they're trying to get intel for fantasy or for betting.
Person who honks at you because you're texting at the stoplight, douche or no douche?
No douche, that's me. Go. You're holding me up because you're distracted? No, I'm very impatient in the car. You need to fucking drive.
A sideline reporter who finishes his sideline interview and then does this while walking away, pumping a fist because he's pleased with himself. Douche or no douche?
Nailed it. No douche.
Thank you, Al. It's me. Thank you for calling me not a douche. I was nervous.
Yeah, we've all been there, and like when we like feel like we like nailed something, we're like, let's go. I'll give like a little subtle let's go. There we go.
I reported the news.
A subtle let's go.
Elle, it is nice seeing you. We look forward, as we always do, to your coverage. Good talking to you.
Thanks for having me. Please have me anytime. And hey, Jess. Hey, girl.
Hey.
Thanks, Tony.
Talk on chat.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah, okay.
All right, I know I got to do this ad read, but hold on. Let me reapply. Did you hear that? Yep, that's my new favorite lip gloss from NYX Cosmetics. Now I'm ready to talk to you. I've been a huge fan of NYX Cosmetics for many years now. In fact, I use their Thick It, Stick It brow gel every single day. So you can imagine my excitement when we recently received a special delivery to the Batard studios from our friends over at NYX Cosmetics. And there it was. When I opened the box, glowing, I heard the angels sing, ah. It's their latest lip gloss fat oil lip drip. It's NYX Cosmetics' first lip oil of its kind. This creamy lip oil will have your lips dripping with fat perks. You get all the shine of a lip gloss and none of the stickiness while experiencing 12-hour hydration. I'm usually a matte lip gloss kind of gal. My normal go-to is NYX Cosmetics lip gloss, the Lingerie XXL. But after applying the status update shade, I have found my new go-to lip gloss. Fat Oil Lip Drip has high shine finish with comfortable wear and none of the sticky texture. A lip product that's hydrating, non-sticky, and only $9? Now that's a win. Try Fat Oil Lip Drip from NYX Professional Makeup. Available in 14 universally flattering shades. Find your perfect Fat Oil Lip Drip. Shop now at NYXCosmetics.com or a retailer near you.
Hey friends, it's Jer Bear here, and I'm here to tell you all about Boost Mobile, which is now a legit nationwide 5G network. So I must take a break from the jokes here for a second and put on my serious voice, because I would never ever joke about a 5G network that has invested billions building 5G towers across the country. Not even once. Not even if Mr. Boost Mobile himself asked me to. There is nothing funny about it. Boost Mobile is now a legit nationwide 5G network and also provides coverage across 99% of America. Seriously. Visit boostmobile.com or your nearest Boost Mobile store location to learn more. The Boost Mobile network, together with our roaming partners, covers 99% of the U.S. population. 5G speeds, not available in all areas.